Dear techBrainers, thank you very much for invitation that I can be here today. It's a pleasure. Thank you very much. My name is Timmich, working as a head of design at Solaris Bus&Coach, and parallel my function is managing director at Studium. It's a design company located in Berlin. Let's say the slogan I have for my presentation: design sells. This is of course a short advice on one of the key aspects for successful product development. I will talk about it, of course, from the designer's perspective. Short information about my background. From 1985, then 7 years, I did study industrial design, transportation design, and computer technology for the design process. Directly after my studies, we did launch our design company. I was working there as a managing director with my co-partner, Professor Lutz Fügener, and we did specialize and focus from the first moment on transportation design projects. In 1999, we got in contact and in touch with the founders of Solaris here in Poland. And since that year, it's in between 15 years ago, oh my god, we are in a close cooperation. And since 2011, my function is head of design at Solaris Bus Company. So between Berlin and Poznan, I'm traveling every week, and there's a good reason to be here in between since 15 years. On one side, I really like the country, and let's say Poland with its enormous dynamic development, and I like Solaris. Let's say the chance to work for this company did bring me a lot of chances. Normally, you would say, with let's say 7 years study of automotive design, you should step into the German car industry. But you start there as a, let's say, as a small designers responsible for small things, and it takes a long time in the car industry to take over more responsibility. And at Solaris, let's say, my chance was to define, let's say, the complete product development strategy. And this was a challenge I was confronted with, and I took it. Okay, but back to the content. My short agenda for today is the question: design as a tool. Next is, let's say, functionality of design implementation into product development. Third chapter, examples. Okay, let's start. Design is a tool. Why should we talk about design? There's a simple answer. Design has an enormous growing influence on our complete product world in between. Design is deep integrated in many fields of our daily life, private and in the business too. And it seems that design is one of the responsible factors for success. And this simple connectivity makes sense to have a look how to use it. Of course, every business and every company is unique. Of course, there are some common and general mechanisms to run a business, and they need to be done perfect. That means arguments like lean production, cost management, SAP integration, PLM integration, all that, let's say, things need to be done in a good quality and on a high level. But what happens when competitors and different companies have fulfilled all that things on a super level and everything is proper done? Then they are still comparable. So there must be another strong reason to get successful or to be comparable. There must be something more. And it's very simple. You have to be unique. The question is how to bring a unique element of a company, a single standing feature, to alive. The question is to find it out. What, let's say, in which element are we different? What can we push forward to be better than others? Some examples. All we know and all we use these Apple devices. But when you look back, how this story began, it was quite simple. Steve Jobs didn't like keyboards. He didn't like hardware buttons. It was a little bit a personal question of hygienic. He didn't like it. And so he forced his engineering, please invent me something to handle a device, but not to switch hardware buttons. So this, let's say, strong characteristic element of this first iPhone, let's say a glass surface, to touch. This kind of, we call it today, touch panels. Yeah? This was a strong invention in that time. And what a story. This small background did change the whole world of all these devices. And even we at Solaris, we use in between touch panels for our driver's dashboard. That means this background did influence and rule the world. Some more examples regarding design implementation. There's in between an established high level of design perception in our private space. Nobody really discusses about if it makes sense or not. We are using it every day. We are socialized with beautiful things, with well-designed products every day, and it is, let's say, in between a complete normal standard for us to use it. Of course, design can surprise and can initiate this kind of I want to have it or I want to use it effect. New forms, new technologies come up in a very short time, and in between there's no chance for, we call it this kind of garage style. That means when a company has a brilliant idea and they push it to a status that they try to enter the market. When they in the moment they really don't care about, let's say, a parallel high-level design implementation, they really have bad chances, and the risk to fail is really high. That means companies with a brilliant idea need to care about high-quality design implementation to get successful. Design can build bridges for acceptance. Have a look at this car, this famous 1.0 liter Volkswagen. The design is not really super innovative. It looks a little bit, I don't want to say like a normal Volkswagen, but it was a brief of the designers. Please make the car in a way that it gets high level of acceptance. If you, let's say, position the design message and the communication message too far away, too strong forward positioned, then we get a problem. So, design, we mentioned it already, is a tool. Every year there's a, let's say, interview of Automotor Sport magazine in Germany, and they asked their readers, tell me something about reasons why you did buy a car. And it is interesting what happened. In the 90s and up to 2007, there were features like fuel consumption, safety, engineering level, cost of the car, end price. All this was important and in the ranking very in first positions. But since 2007, people answer styling. Styling, design is the most important reason for us to buy a car. And this is not surprising for me, because because there's a logical background. All competitors on the market, all car producers have nearly the same level of fuel consumption, engineering and so on. So they come very close together in all these features. And what remains to be different? Let's say the personality which communicates the product, or let's call it the styling, the design. In this field, the companies can be very, very different, and it shows design is a tool to reach goals. Design awakes emotions and desires. Design gives a promise for safety, for different goals, a promise for functionality, a promise for performance. It depends on the product and it depends on the goals the company is setting. Design makes competitive. Design creates markets. Design creates, at the end, added value. So we can conclude, design is a toolbox and an instrument to focus on defined goals. That means design is not a question of being friendly or being nice and like a cultural factor. Design is a hard instrument to be successful on the market. And we see it in Germany as well as here in Poland. Many companies, let's say younger companies, who stand in front of the decision to implement design or not, they are skeptical because they have always this argument, it costs money and we have to care about our costs when we start our business. So my argument is always, if you ignore it because of cost management, you go a very risky way. That means product development without design integration is a risk today. So let's talk about how to do it. Design implementation. The question is how to do it in a design process, how to implement the design process into the, let's say, overall frame of product development. If you see this overview, you can, I always get crazy about it, I don't want to see it, but it's a fact, it happens. Let's say we have so many influences on design solutions at the end. This is more than in any other disciplines of a product development. That means creating design solution demands or means integration. This overview is what happens on the stage of a company. Maybe I step back. This is the overall, let's say, overview of the, let's say, of general influences. And on company level, we see this. We have engineering aspects, marketing, purchasing, briefing, project management, timeline, the team. Question of, let's say, are people able to work together? Are they able to build a team? We have the management and we have the corporate culture of the company. All that has influence on the design solution. The most important question for a company who stands in front of this decision to integrate design, who's the right guy? Who is the right designer for me? If a company gets in contact with a designer and they are asking, hey, we have a nice project and we are so proud on what we plan. Are you the right one to help us? Do you want to enter, let's say, our team? And the designer, of course, they will say, yes, I am. I am the right one. But exactly this is the danger, the most dangerous situation. Because I did learn so many companies who told me we were so frustrated. We did everything what we should do. We got in contact with designers and at the end we did fail because it was not the right decision. And I have not an easy answer for this. If you plan to, let's say, engage designers to your business, there's not, let's say, a defined place to find the right competence for your needs. That's why I see, and this is, let's say, a question we have to answer, maybe for the next years. we have maybe to install a mechanism to get more safety for this step, for this decision. Coming back to Solaris. Solaris did understand this, let's say, the needs. Oh, no, let me check some more questions. Yeah. Who is able to evaluate if we have the right designers or not? Mostly in smaller or middle-sized companies, there's a simple answer. There's nobody able. Let's say to decide if this is the right designer or not. There's no competence inside the company. This is a risky situation. The question is, what is needed? Solaris did understand this, let's say, this fact that they have to engage with design to be successful on the market. It's funny, from the first moment, and for me it was so surprising. I was in that years, let's say, involved in the railway industry. I was working for Bombardier and Siemens, and I did learn the family Olszewski, the founder of Solaris, on a fair. And we had a, let's say, one-to-one scale model of a double-decker train wagon there, and Olszewski came to me and, who's responsible for this? I need this guy. So he was so convinced from the first moment and it happened in 1999. Let's say a Polish company where I could not expect that the understanding of, let's say, integrating design is on such a good level. I don't want to say that there was a theoretical background, but he has a right feeling for that, yeah, that this is necessary. And he, let's say, it was a, let's say, very intelligent and right decision. So what is needed? For sure skills. Without, let's say, good skills, you have no chance. This is one of the basics. But skills is not enough, you need performance. You are working in a competitive situation with your competitors on the market. That means speed, efficiency and safety for design decision counts. You have no time for a second chance with your developments. And of course, there's a special relationship between the designers and the company leaders. Design is a little bit in touch with the DNA of a company. That means I'm convinced that, let's say, this easy exchange of designers comparable to sub-suppliers is a risk, and it doesn't work. For sure you need trust. Without trusting each other, you shouldn't start. Teamwork. Time is over to work, let's say, as a designer in a white tower, or to be responsible alone for final designs. Yeah, as we know it, for instance, car designers in the 70s or in the 60s, yeah, the Italian guys, Pininfarina and so on. This romantic idea, the designer is responsible for something. This time is over. We have to, let's say, our very, very complex products require teamwork on a high level. And of course, it is a question of marketing that a designer, which is maybe well known or famous, is, let's say, called, okay, he's responsible for that, but the background is different. The background is always a high level of teamwork, on, let's say, with excellent interchange of everything. And you need endurance. Starting with, let's say, design implementation needs time. All the aspects that I did show, what is the background? The background is passion. If you don't transfer your own passion for the design process, who else should do it? You have to be full of emotions and full of engagement to push the things forward. Next question, how to integrate designers? Employed or independent? The simple answer is you have to ensure independent mind and independent thinking of designers. There's a danger, let's say, what happens over the time. After, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years, when you have employed designers, they tell the management more or less what they want to hear. And they act in a way that they avoid conflicts. But this is helpful, let's say, for some years. and it creates a harmony situation, but it doesn't help the company and it doesn't help the product. That means you have to ensure this critical view on the process. How did we do it? We were in strong and hard negotiations with Solaris. How can we handle it? They wanted to go the simple way. We want to employ you. And I said, no, you can get me. Well, let's say you can engage me or our company, but independent, because of this background. After 3 years, when I am employed, then I will tell you what you want to hear. And we will, I don't want to say we will fail, but we go a risky way. In the car industry, or in the automotive industry at all, they handle, let's say the management handles this problem with rotation. That means people who are in charge for, let's say, some products or for some car models, they switch after 5 years their position to get a fresh view again. Yeah, to, let's say, to create a little bit pressure in the system. And but a company, a small company who is not employed hundreds of designers is not able to create this rotation system. So I can recommend to create this, let's say, external relationship. Work together with independent companies means you are free to create contracts and to create a relationship as you want, following your wishes, following your needs. So the background that I have with Solaris is a little bit, I think, very new and innovative. I don't know any other companies where, for instance, my function is internally, I have responsibility and I have to lead a team and so on, but I'm not employed. It was a little bit a question of laws, yeah, working laws, let's say that we do not have any conflicts inside, but it works. So we have the system since 4 years, and since that time we get everything much better under control. This question, getting blind or keeping fresh, this is the background. How to avoid to get blind. I did make some very simple and abstract overviews of our workflow, and we did learn from in the first years very strongly. First, we started with we call it a linear workflow. There was a briefing, engineering did start, marketing did start, after engineering, then they did call the designers, hey, we have a nice project, come to us, we make a briefing, and then step by step. And yeah, we didn't know it better. Yeah, everything was new in the company, and we started it in this way. But we are open to learn, because a lot of ugly things did happen. In case, in this moment, yeah, you see this arrow, some conflicts come up, you have to make a strong and hard loop. You are going back to a step, and this costs so much money and so much effort, and you lose time and all that. The result of this linear workflow was in 2011 that we mentioned, okay, we have problems. We have problems with design quality. Of course, this is a very complex process, and I made it very abstract. The reality is a little bit more complicated, of course, but the system inside is in this way. So we changed to this. Now, every player in the, let's say, in the game of development has access to everybody in case it is needed. Of course, it is not so easy to handle this process. A linear process is much easier to get under control. But we are always, let's say, all players in this development process are nearly on the same information level, and we avoid, let's say, this very expensive hard loops. In case we come to conflicts, the level of what did happen is much lower. That means this process is hard to organize. You need a lot of trust, and you need a lot of experience how to lead a team and how to implement everything that it still runs efficiently, but you save a lot of money. Oh, can we switch off the light? It's nothing enough. What I want to show here, this question of cross-disciplinary know-how. That means if you see here, you have to imagine there are circles. First picture is two circles parallel and they don't overlap. So they are side by side. Everybody has this knowledge, okay, he's really competent, but both of them, people who communicate, don't overlap. That means we have a problem of communication. Middle picture is what you see here. This is the field of overlapping, yeah? And last picture, both, let's say, knowledge circles come still closer together, and the field of overlapping is much stronger. So we have to decide, and this is very important inside a team, how to balance this level of overlapping. And our experience is to be efficient and to be speedy for the development. It is not useful to have this large overlapping, as you see on the right side, because then everybody talks about the same. And let's say the new aspects that people come up with new ideas is not enough. So my recommendation and my experience, a good level of, let's say, crossover knowledge is very helpful, but you need, let's say, a stronger core of your specialization knowledge. And the next question, a balanced competence level. The problem, if you have not this balanced level of all players, you create conflicts. That means if you have an excellent management, but your engineering is low, or your design competence is low, you have a problem. Only when everything is balanced nearly on the same level, you can be very successful. And in that moment, it is the same if you're on a top level or a little bit lower. You can reach a lot. Only when one of the players, and this is what the company has to care about, when one of the players inside the development process is on a low level or on a too high level, you get conflicts. Coming back to what we are doing at Solaris, we split up our design activities in production design and advanced design. Production design means we are working on real projects for reality. Advanced design means we care about future. We are spinning around, we are flying. Of course, based on trends, what we see on the market. But it is important. If you have designers in your companies, I can recommend, bring them to fly. Ask for really advanced ideas, which have a strong forward view on everything. Of course, it is not necessary that they, let's say, will meet a reality point, yeah, what really will happen in the future. But thinking about future has a strong positive influence on competitive solutions for reality. Simple said, you get better for reality when you think about future. Only to show some examples. This is a project for reality. Let's say we are convinced at Solaris that we have to push the design quality of our products in the sector of public transport exactly onto the same level as we have design attractivity in the private transport section. That means the goal is it should not be anymore a negative compromise to use public transport like trams or buses. It should be cool and interesting and attractive to use them. Not to say because of traffic jam I don't use my car and use the bus. Let's say the argument should be forget the car. It is not so attractive as going with public transport. For us today, it is hard to imagine, but this is the goal we are focusing on. It is a hard process to push every player on the market, the operators, the sub-suppliers, everybody onto this vision. But we do it. We do it with, let's say, different activities. Let's say this is more detailed regarding design setup. And this is an example that we care, let's say, based on our advanced design activities. We care, for instance, only an example, we care about first class compartments in public transport, because people are asking, or clients are asking for that. Yeah, we have clients, we have passengers, they are so, let's say, they feel attacked from something of crowded situation. What do you think about first class ideas? So in this, because it is established in trains, in planes, in many, let's say, public transport systems, it is established only in let's say, urban transport systems, it is a little bit risky. Yeah? Okay, we think about it, we create solutions like that, we talk with operators about it, and we get more knowledge. We get better, let's say, conditions for decision finding. Does it make sense or not? If you don't try it, you are not safe with decisions. What we are doing else? We make trend analysis. Trends are important and dangerous in the same moment. For our business, it is risky to step on short-term trends because the character of our products, let's say they have a lifetime of 15 up to 20 years, trams for 30 years. So we analyze long-term trends, and they are really helpful to give us a little bit a guideline into which strategy we should step. But short-term trends, as we see in the car industry, are dangerous. That means, said with short words, our products have to be modern, but not stylish. Only an example, we find a well and positive trend in the automotive industry to use more sustainable materials, honest materials, wood, let's say, leather, less plastic. When they use metal, they show it is metal. That means this kind of communication message is we handle our products in an honest way. And this is the style we act with our clients. This is the message. And we see it in public transport projects too. This is of course only a rendering, a vision, but it shows, yeah, there's a way to handle it. Next trend that we see in our business is the performance of transport system connectivity. That means people don't care so strong which kind of transport system they use. They want to get relaxed or in a fast and efficient way, in a good surrounding with a good experience from A to B. That means important is the performance of the system by itself and the performance of interchanges to other systems. And this is interesting. BMW, a classic car producer, they have their, let's say, parallel and more innovative positioned product line, this BMW i. And with this category of models, they want to reach new clients. Let's say customers who don't care so strong about this kind of automotive tradition. These kind of people are strongly motivated by green transport aspects, by connectivity. They are open to change the system when it makes sense. They don't force or ask for a system only to use the car. And this is interesting that BMW provides with some applications their new i products with information. Hey, in this point it makes sense to park the car and to use public transport. Yeah, and if we understand this is a strong competition system, public transport for them, this is really interesting. They did accept, okay, there's a group of, let's say, next generation users. They are dangerous, or we act dangerous if we do not care about them. Personal devices, this is the, let's say, info terminal for connectivity. This is visible in every, let's say, in every area of our society in between. That means connectivity outside and inside the transport units. In cars, buses, trams, trains, airplanes. This is what people want. And we have a new ranking of values for the younger generation. Owning a car gets less attractive. I have to say in the big cities. We see it very strongly in Berlin, in New York, London, Paris. Younger people don't care so strongly to own a car. Using, yes. Owning, no. Of course, on one side this is dangerous for the industry, for the classic car industry, if they don't care about this development of new ranking of values of the new generation. But for us, for our business, for public transport, and for the car sharing industry, this is quite very positive what is running. We see a strong development for demand, let's say on-demand services. This picture illustrates a little bit. Video on demand, for instance, is well established. We have a well established online access to a lot of functionalities. People have deeply and complex access to structures in between. This is in many fields of the society absolutely normal, and if you look back how fast this development did happen, it is amazing. And we have a conflict with that. As a producer of buses and trams, have a look, we have to organize our products in a way that they are scalable, that they are adaptable to get access for devices or functionality like this. If you install, let's say, fixed systems in the public vehicles, I don't know, based on old school technologies, you have in 5 years no chance for acceptance. This is a hard conflict that we are in face of. That's why we are creating scenarios in the design department. We play scenarios to get prepared. I show you an example. Here, what you see, an idea of smaller public transport units. The idea is very simple. Based on the fact that we are convinced that this kind of, let's say, services on demand is getting bigger and stronger. The simple idea is, why not to have public transport on demand? That means I'm standing here and I want to get to point B. And for me it's the same, which device or which unit comes. I have in my device, let's say, an application, and I will switch, okay, I'm here and I want to get there. And for me it's the same if a four people unit comes, or a 20 people unit, or whatever, a train or a bus, it is the same for me. I want to get there in a relaxed way. And if I push my request into the system, as in the same moment thousands of people are doing, I have the trust that the system is calculated for me the best public transport offer that I can get. Because the system is calculating the best, let's say, solution, what is possible in this moment. That means the system sends, based on swarm intelligence, for instance, let's say the right unit based on the requests which happen in this area. So we do not have timetables for public transport as we have now. We go to a station now, we have a look at the timetable, oh, I have to wait 20 minutes. It is unacceptable. And I'm sure that this element of getting, let's say, public transport on demand will happen very fast in the next years. I'm sure. This, because people know it from other fields of their daily life, that they get easy access. And it is more and more unacceptable. And the people will ask their operators, hey, why are you acting in such a classic way? This is unacceptable. We will not use your transport system if you do not move. Okay. This picture explains the same. Let's come to some examples. Only when all participants in this development, let's say product development process, as I said, are on the same level, a company can reach a lot. And it is independent, if this is a big or a small company. Here are some examples. What you see here is a sports car made in East Germany in the GDR in the 60s. Melkus RS 1000. This is a funny story. It was, let's say, a small family, yeah, full of passion for racing cars. And, you know, under the conditions of, let's say, bad economy in East Germany, they did produce this, and they did push the, let's say, the politics to get allowed to do that, yeah? And I think 200 cars were produced at the end, no more, yeah? But this car is, of course, a legend. In 2004, they started to think about, let's say, a follower. And of course, it was obviously in that moment a new or let's say following car made with new technologies today, a competitive car, yeah, stands in competition with on the market with all that, let's say, brands we know, with Porsche, with Lamborghini, whatever, because the price will be the same. So we were asked, we saw it on a magazine, okay, they did catch a designer, let's say the small company, they have only 10 employees. They are located in Dresden, and they engaged a designer, and some pictures were offered in magazines. And we saw it we were sitting in our office, we saw it, unbelievable. This legend shouldn't get destroyed by ugly design solutions. Yeah? So we decided, hey, we should visit them, and for small money only, because this was a question for us, a question of passion. We offered them our services, and of course it was not fair against the other designers, yeah, but it is a competition, yeah. We started to convince them, and then we got the job, and we made, let's say, the following model based on some simple technologies, and they've had only 5 engineers and a small group of let's say, responsible people, but we got a really convincing result. This is a car ready for racing and ready for going on the street parallel, yeah? And with wing doors, and if you know the background of homologation questions, yeah, for cars, this was so amazing what was possible. And what was, everybody who was involved, nearly on the same level of competence in his own field. The real background of that family was this. They wanted to have their own car taking part at car races, yeah? Okay, next example. It is the opposite of that race car. This is a small company in West Germany. They have, I think, 20 employees, a very small unit too. And I show you these examples because it should give everybody who is thinking about things like that trust to try it. They wanted to take part in the X Prize in the US. The X Prize competition was announced, I think, in 2011. To build a car with the lowest fuel consumption what is possible. And this technology development was the point of start for developing a car for the market. This is a prototype. This is very near already what they want to do for reality, for selling the car. They want to start with a production of 2,000 cars per year. They made perfect market analysis. What we will get is this. Let's say different let's say models. One is executive and it's sports version, and with, let's say, with textile roof to like a open car, and it is a 3-wheeler, complete a battery car with a range of 220 kilometers, with a speed of 160, and all the question of homologation, and this is answered already, they will do it. And I'm so proud to be involved in this process, because this is a good example what passion, what motivation. Yeah. Okay. 2 minutes. That's okay. Last thing, my engagement with Solaris. I think you all know the vehicles they did. I was responsible for all the models that we were producing. The Urbino 3-story, a more, we call it metro style, a more design advanced solution. We have intercity buses. We have trams. First project here, Tramino for Poznan. Next project is Tramino for Jena in Germany, and Tramino for Braunschweig. And we did win the Red Dot Award in this year. That means we are so proud that our engagement for design is, let's say, mentioned on the market. Last minute. We have the story of, let's say, promoting and developing our new bus generation. It was a story of 4 years development. First sketches you see here, some computer renderings and some pictures of reality. let's say this new generation was a complete new development from the scratch, based of course with all technical, let's say, experiences the company had. And the prototypes are running. We are starting now serial production, and we did win 2 design prizes for this, EF Design Award in Hanover and Top Design Award in Poznan. We are very proud on it. And last element, a short movie about this new vehicle. Okay, remember, design sells. Thank you very much.